And guys, in this next news story, back in 2020, when international law enforcement infiltrated EncroChat, specialist detectives at Wigan Challenger team received several packs containing thousands of anonymous and once encrypted messages. It was believed that it was their job to go through these messages and identify who were behind the anonymous handles such as Unreal Calf, Word J, Goldflake, Impulsive Hound, and following a meticulous investigation, the men appeared at Bolton Crown Court and were sentenced to over 40 years. Christopher Dean pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply coke. He was sentenced to 12 years and 9 months. Paul Connolly pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply coke, possession of coke with intent to supply, and possession of criminal property. He was sentenced to 12 years and 9 months. Christopher Boylan pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply coke. He was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months. Cameron Ruddy pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply coke and he was sentenced to 6 years. Believing these secure mobile devices offered them full anonymity, these men acted with impunity, openly discussing the transfer of cash in a illicit commodity. However, they also shared personal private details on these chats, including flight details and information about their girlfriends, all of which helped detectives piece together the information and identify who was behind these usernames. At the time of the conspiracy, Boylan ran a skip hire based in Wigan, and Dean and Connolly were working for a fencing company operating in the same yard. The location was used as a base on several occasions for meetings and exchanges of large amounts of drugs, and the skip wagons were used to transport hundreds of thousands of pounds of cash. The money was hidden in shoeboxes and sent abroad. Messages from Boylan and his co-conspirator show him boasting that this method of transport would not rouse suspicion of police. As the investigation developed, it became clear that each of the men had a role to play in the conspiracy. Dean and Connolly worked side by side to buy and sell drugs on a commercial scale. Dean directed the buying and selling but preferred to keep his distance from the coke and EncroChat system, while Connolly organised the daily business with customers. Collectively, they had substantial links to and influence on others lower down the chain and were financially rewarded for their role. Owing to the seniority of the hierarchy, they had close links to the original source of the drugs, and they also used their shared business premises as a cover for the criminal activities, having cash and drugs pass through the site without raising any suspicion to those nearby. Christopher Dean did not use an EncroChat phone to conduct business, rather openly discussed deals on his conventional phone. Throughout the conspiracy period, he was seen to be directing the buying and selling of coke and other drugs through Connolly. Connolly was attributed to the handle Word J, with his messages depicting his involvement of drug exchanges to users. He also, believing this platform to be secure, shared personal details including his age and the birth and weight of his daughter. All these factors helped police piece together who was behind the anonymous handles conducted their illicit business. Christopher Boylan was identified as a key player who organised the buying and selling of drugs, and he would order up to 5 kilos of coke at a time, and he had access to safe houses and used his legitimate skipyard business as a cover to receive deliveries of drugs. He was attributed to the handle Impulsive Hound for several reasons. Again, he divulged details about his personal relationship, his personal skip business, and his Snapchat account, which was linked to his personal email, all of which led detectives straight to Boylan. Ruddy acted as his assistant, and he would process orders of drugs and cash and store commodities ready for onward supply. He provided testers to prospective buyers on behalf of his associate in Dubai to the likes of Boylan. On one occasion, Ruddy took part in arrangements for and receipt of 15 kilos of coke, estimated to cost well over £500,000 at street sale value, which was to be distributed into Lancashire. He provided his vehicle registration and a postcode close to his home address to meet up with a courier via EncroChat, and the vehicles registered him at the time. Camera of Ruddy was attributed to a number of handles, including Unreal Calf, and detectives revealed Ruddy was behind these usernames as he sent his personal Snapchat account as an identifier, and several people sent messages using his well-known nicknames. On the 19th of May 2022, police executed 10 warrants at addresses connected with this investigation, and 10 individuals were arrested. From across the addresses, police seized large volumes of coke, ket, ecstasy, MDMA, drug paraphernalia, luxury items like designer clothing, watches and jewellery, burner phones, debtor lists, and around £40,000 in cash. Detective Inspector Carla Dayton from the Wigan district said, "On the surface, this appears to be a sophisticated operation. For a period of time, they were able to orchestrate the sale and transfer of large volumes of cash and drugs across the northwest, whilst Connolly was overseas in Dubai. Or if these men got too comfortable with their encrypted phones by sharing their personal details with one another, they essentially led us to the doors to help us build a case strong enough to put them behind bars for a long time. The extent of their criminality should not be underestimated. They were making vast profits from this trade. They all owned luxury cars, clothes, jewellery, and had cash lying around their houses. Dean had also done extensive renovations to his property, at which to be estimated at over £100,000. All this money was earned at the expense of the community and vulnerable people and drug users. Now that the case has concluded, the Economic Crime Unit is going to be going after the money these men made from their criminal enterprise to ensure that they cannot enjoy this upon their release from prison. They said that any money that gets forfeited through the Proceeds of Crime Act will then be reinvested into Greater Manchester communities through the Asset Recovery Incentivisation Scheme. 8 men, including 5 from Bradford, have been jailed for their involvement in a plot to supply almost £1 million worth of illegal drugs. The charges relate to 3 events which took place between January and April last year, involving Adam O'Connor, who was described as a courier for the plot from Halifax, and the organiser Sanchez Heffernan from Bradford. Heffernan was jailed for 23 years following a sentencing hearing at Leeds Crown Court. So the first incident occurred on January the 30th. Officers spotted a drug deal taking place between O'Connor and Mohammed Jamil Ali in Halifax. Ali from Bradford was seen collecting bin liners and a bag for life from the boot of O'Connor's car. He was later stopped on the M62, where officers found 5 kilos of coke and 20 kilos of ketamine, with an estimated street value of around £750,000 in the boot. In June 2024, Mohammed Saif Ali from Bradford was also arrested for his involvement in the conspiracy. The second incident, on April the 17th, officers again spotted O'Connor taking part in a drug deal with Aman Patanaka, who's from Bradford. Patanaka was then seen meeting Nathaniel Fulton in Bingley. Both Patanaka and Fulton were arrested, and officers found a carrier bag containing an estimated £40,000 worth of MDMA in the footwell of the car. And the third incident, 5 days later, officers saw O'Connor again collecting a bag from Heffernan. O'Connor then travelled to Halifax, where he met Albanian nationals Angelakin Undreka and Valion Bitieci. He handed a bag containing nearly £58,000 in cash to Bitieci. O'Connor received a bag from Undreka containing 2 kilos of coke. Bitieci was later arrested on the M62 whilst travelling towards Liverpool. Undreka was stopped on the southbound M1 after a pursuit in West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire, where he reached speeds of over 100 miles per hour. During this pursuit, he was seen throwing coke from the vehicle to get rid of the evidence. When he was eventually stopped and arrested, officers also found a mobile phone which Undreka had attempted to destroy. The phone contained a series of messages in which Heffernan had arranged to buy drugs in kilo quantities from Undreka. O'Connor was arrested on April the 23rd, and half a kilo of coke was seized from his vehicle. Speaking after the sentencing, Detective Inspector Chris Ruckin of West Yorkshire Police's Programme Precision Team said this was a significant conspiracy to supply drugs that were undoubtedly destined for the streets of West Yorkshire. He said, "We carried out a thorough investigation focusing on the activities and movements of Adam O'Connor, which in turn led us to Heffernan and the other people involved in acquiring and moving drugs and cash around. So I'm pleased that they are now behind bars, where they will have time to reflect on their actions." So Sanchez Heffernan from Bradford, he was jailed for 23 years. He was described in court as the main organizer of the conspiracy, admitted to 2 counts of conspiracy to supply Class A, supply Class B, and possession of criminal property. There's Adam O'Connor, who's 32, from Halifax. He was described as Heffernan's courier, and he admitted 3 counts of conspiracy to supply Class A, 2 to conspiracy to supply Class B. He was jailed for 10 years. You got Mohammed Saif Ali, who's from Bradford. He was jailed for 8 years. Aman Patanaka, he was sentenced to 6 years and 9 months in his absence because he failed to appear at court, and police don't know his whereabouts. You got Nathaniel Fulton from Bingley. He was found guilty of conspiracy to supply Class A and possession of criminal property, a Rolex watch he claimed to have been loaned to him. He was jailed for 9 years and 6 months. You've got Undreka. He was jailed for 8 years and 8 months and banned from driving for 7 years and 4 months. Then you've got Bitieki. He was found guilty of conspiracy to supply Class A. He was sentenced to 6 years and 6 months. And then you've got Mohammed Jamil Ali from Bradford. He previously admitted possession with intent to supply coke and ketamine and was sentenced to 5 years at an earlier